Karim seemed interested in getting to know all about our family. And so it wasn't just, tell us about your money and how do we help you with your money.
I'm Dan Richards. You may know me from my regular column in the Globe and Mail Report on Business. I'm talking with Fiona Reid, well known to Canadians for her work on stage, on film, on television, and also awarded the Order of Canada for her work. And Fiona, we're going to talk about the relationship that you've had for a number of years now with Karim Visram of the Karim Visram Wealth Management Group. Let's start by talking about how you and Karim first started working together.
His patience was, I think it's fair to say, remarkable. Mm-hmm. Karim went out of his way to understand what my concerns were and my mother's concerns in particular, because I was working essentially for my mother because she had diminished capacity at that point and then eventually got Alzheimer's. So it was important for him to understand our situation, but he was so ready to take on our family, which wasn't always a cut and dried situation. And I remember him coming over to the house, and I think what struck me to begin with was that Karim seemed interested in getting to know all about our family. And so it wasn't just, tell us about your money and how do we help you with your money. It was wanting to know about my mother's situation very much, and my father was still alive at that time, and how he could help, and what their concerns were. And he just was very interested in knowing everything about us in a way that made me feel that I could talk to him, not just about the money, but about what Mum's needs were going to be and how we could, he just seemed to want to know us and what our approach to money was. So instead of trying to change us, he was working with us.
If you want to tell me a little bit more about some of the other challenges, you know, with your mother being British and some of the issues that came in place there.
Karim was always there to inform, advise. He took on a situation which was absolutely beyond that was not necessary, and it was a great headache to all of us in the family, to do with a trust in Britain. And he took on that in such a way, he sort of took on the British, I felt he was taking on a bit of that sort of British, this is the way we do our banking in Britain, and I'm sorry, you Canadians don't really know what you're talking about. And Karim just went right in there and said, thank you, sir, but we would still like to know this.
And one of the things I would think important in that situation is important is to have a clear understanding of the trade-offs, the pros and the cons of different alternatives. Did you spend much time talking with Karim about that?
Oh, a tremendous amount of time. He would want to know about my relationships with my siblings and whether they were on board with certain things. He was always very aware that there was an entire family here, and sometimes not always with the same interests or concerns. The more I became involved, the more I was the one in the forefront of my mother's care. Every time, every step of the way, Karim would say, we really need to have a talk about this, because as the markets would change, our situation would change, Mummy's needs would change, and as the disease progressed, there were changes in accommodation, and it was all a huge learning curve for me. But I always felt with Karim, he was as much social worker as he was financial advisor. And at one point, we had a problem in the family in terms of understanding about my role as power of attorney, and it became quite fractious at a certain point, and Karim stepped in and calmed and informed and managed to a degree that I would say was exemplary. His patience, his understanding, and if ever he didn't know the answer, sometimes it was a legal question, and he would consult with his whole legal team, because the resources there were tremendous. And I have to say, it wasn't just Karim, it was his team.
Now, Fiona, you mentioned earlier the fact that when you began working with Karim, you weren't hugely knowledgeable in terms of some of the technical aspects of portfolio management. Did you find that Karim, in fact, was able to communicate with you in a level that you were comfortable with, that you were clear? And
I always had to stop and say, is this in my mother's best interest? And what is our immediate need for these funds? Well, it's not my immediate need to see that I inherit money. It's my job is to give my mother the best possible care. So sometimes I needed reassurance that there would be enough money in case Mom was to live a long time with her Alzheimer's. And she did live a long time. She lived till she was 94. And he would show me a graph, and he said she would have to live this long for the money to run out, and he would always remind me, it's not your job to worry about that. So sometimes if I felt pressure from other members of the family, he would remind me of what my job was, and it was very reassuring. And Karim, wherever he could, he would say, well, we can help here, and we can help here, and we can get you that information so you don't have to run out there. I'm sure his job description doesn't mention half the things he did.
Fiona, thank you very much.
And thank you very much.